In this lesson we're going to look at new positions along the neck in the pentatonic scale and see how they relate to soloing. Now, going back to when we moved positions a few lessons ago, we looked at going from the mid-range here, sliding along, switching over to our first finger and arriving an octave higher on the second string 10th fret. One more time. And from here we could pick out and notice that we had our 3-note patterns and our bends. Now another good position to use, although it's using exactly the same notes as these three here, is to play along the 3rd string at the 14th fret. That's an A also, and in fact if you listen, that note is identical to our A on the 10th fret 2nd string. So we can go down here again. There's our 3-note pattern, and here's our bend. I'll come back. Now the advantage of playing leads down here is you've got extra notes you can play on the 1st string, which of course aren't available to you when you play down here. If I go to a bend from my 3-note, that's about as far as I can go in terms of squeaking any more notes out of the scale. But if I'm down here, I can bend and play this note, which is a G, which is in our pentatonic scale, on the 1st string. Now there's a few familiar lead phrases which you may have heard other players use. I'll show you them now. We'll start with an easy one. We'll do a 3-note pattern again. Squash all our fingers, thumb out, little finger, fingers bent down slightly for a nice bend, smooth bend. Bend, hold that bend up while the note's ringing, tuck the little finger in at the same fret, which is the 15th fret, and it produces 2 sounds. One of the bend note and one of the new note with a little finger. Again. Now another trick is after we've put in this extra note here, we can hit the 2nd string and move down and round it off by going to our root note at A here. One more time. Produces a very expressive melodic phrase. Now, using the same idea, but technically a little more difficult, is to play our 3 notes, bend, hit the 1st string, drop the bend down ever so slightly, and bend again while the 1st string is still ringing. I'll just play it for you now. Now the difficulty with doing this lies in the fact that once you've got the bend up and the little finger, it's hard to drop the bend down because your little finger is occupying the same space on the same fret at the 15th fret. So when you drop the bend down, just drop it down ever so slightly, and again making sure that the 1st string doesn't die out on you. As you can hear, there's still 2 notes ringing at the end of the phrase. One more time. And again. Once again, let's take a look at the structure of our pentatonic scale on these 3 strings. The 14th fret 3rd string, we have our A. Then we go to the C, which is right here, 13th fret 2nd string. Our D, 15th fret. When we bend, we're actually pitching the same note as our E on the 12th fret 1st string. Then we have a G, 15th fret, and if you want, you can bend that G a full pitch so it winds up being our A down here. We can also, since we're on 3 strings, utilize this note on the 3rd string at the 12th fret. G, A, C, D, E, G, and A. Now let me show you a few more ideas with bending. Once again, here's our 3-note pattern, here's our 2-note pattern, or at least one of them, here's another one, here's our double 2-note. As you can see, I'm using the same melodic ideas that we used on the 4th and 3rd string earlier on. Now, in addition to these, we can use also our silent bend. And drop our bend down, and we can go from here straight to that high bend, which gives us some nice shift in pitch, as it were. Once again, our familiar trick of bending and adding an extra note, perhaps doing a pull-off here. You can experiment with some of these tricks and ideas and see which work for you. Now let's look at sliding from this position all the way down here to the 17th fret, where our pentatonic scale that we used at the very beginning of these lessons gets duplicated way down here. Of course, as you can see, the frets are a lot closer together and a little awkward to work your way around. And while I'm here, I may point out that some of the bass notes don't exactly produce the nicest of tones. They're a little bit wooden sounding. Now, I'm going to go back to here, to this position, and show you a trick which I call the high slide. We place our first finger on the 1st and 2nd string in the form of a mini bar. We hit the 2nd string and slide, pressing 2 strings down, but only hit the 2nd string and slide to the 17th fret, like this. Then hit the 1st string, and then back to the 2nd string. Now I've slowed it down, but sped up it would sound like this. Again. And I can complete this phrase by bending from the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th fret up to an A, a very, very high A on the 2nd string, which would be the same as our A on the 17th fret. Let's hear that again. Now, as you can hear, that's quite a useful phrase. Now, to conclude this lesson, I'm going to demonstrate some solos using the positions I just taught you over some background Latin rock music.